The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of The Young American. I am your host, Joseph Bemister. We are live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café. Find us on iHeartRadio, Podbeam, the United Podcast Network, also YouTube Live. This podcast is fully fact-based about politics. It's also opinionated about our government, officials, laws, and how we feel that the government's changing for the good and or bad. Through my libertarian views, my guest point of view, whether they be from the left or right. Today, my guest Scott, his father's friend, we do business together, I believe.
Yeah, we do business together. We've known each other for a long time.
Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about our interpretation of the Second Amendment, what we feel it was kind of written for, what it states clearly in the Constitution, and why people aren't really looking at it and reading it the way it is, and why I don't know why they're choosing to, but they just are. Concealed carry and responsibility concealed carrying. Basically, everybody every day, you don't even know who they are. They're carrying, and just kind of the responsibility that comes with home defense. And people are calling for, saying that police are better than having your own firearm at home, which I completely disagree with, because unless you keep a police officer asleep on your couch every night, I'd much rather take a handgun or a shotgun or whatever you got.
Yeah, that's totally.
It's I don't know why, and also 87% of police chiefs in America said that they agree and they want people carrying firearms. And we're going to be talking about that as well today.
Yeah, the average call to a house, I think, is like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I think this response time is 13 in New Hampshire. 13 minutes for a police officer to get to a house. All right, so they were going to start off with, of course, the interpretation of the Second Amendment. It states well-regulated militia is needed. It was there for people to protect themselves against a tyrannical government. Wasn't there so you can go hunting. It never doesn't anywhere state in the Constitution that says you can hunt.
They have the right to defend themselves, whether against it's domestic or the government, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, we were watching a documentary in our law class today about the Constitution, and they said, hey, the First and Second Amendment were written. Basically, the whole Bill of Rights is written the same idea. It's protect us from the government. It's not to protect us from each other, because we don't need protection from each other. We have the government to protect us from each other, but we need protection from the government violating our rights, whether it be our freedom to protest peacefully, freedom of speech, our Second Amendment right, speedy trial, when you double jeopardy, all these things that we're protected from. The Second Amendment is there to ensure that, because if someone's breaking a law or a police officer is wrongfully arresting you for no reason, you have the right to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying you should.
If you look at history, you should see why they put it in place in the first place and what's happened after the Second Amendment was even put in place.
What about the argument, gentlemen, that back when the Second Amendment was written, it took a minute to a minute and a half to load a long rifle, and at the time, the government and the people that it governed had the same exact weapons. Now, there are nuclear submarines where one submarine could wipe out the entire United States and Canada all by itself. How could we possibly defend ourselves against that with a handgun?
Well, I don't really think you would be protecting yourself against a nuclear submarine. I think in a hypothetical, civil unrest or a civil dispute between the United States government and the people, I think they would be going, troops on troops. I don't think it would be going, I don't think they'd be going as far as to nuking us. But
yeah, you can't dominate a country without putting troops on the ground.
Exactly.
You wipe it out, But you can't dominate it unless you put troops on the ground.
Yeah, unless you got boots on the ground, you really can't occupy the people. I mean, you can scare them. Use the police, but I don't think that's a nuclear submarine. I don't think that'd be, but obviously it's hypothetical.
It is hypothetical.
You're just using it as an analogy, basically, do.
So should we then, as a people, be stockpiling arms and ammunition under that Second Amendment?
We already
protection?
Are. I mean, there's.
Well, you may be.
Well, no, I think the whole United States. I mean, there's 350 million Americans.
Correct.
We have 300 million guns legally owned and registered. That's almost one gun per person. If it was a real problem, you would know.
Absolutely.
I mean, people would be.
And if you want to arm yourself, then you should have the right to arm yourself.
I mean, it is a right to arm yourself.
That's right.
We have that right.
If you don't want to, that's your right also.
Awful lot of people in the studio audience nodding to that comment right there. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, It's also none of your business what I own. If I want to tell you that I have it, that's my business. But if you have a problem me owning a firearm, well, cry about it. Like, it's none of your business.
Feeling on the government taking forcing us to log our firearms with them, so that they know what we have?
That's not even allowed. So when you buy a firearm, all it is a background check stating, hey, we're calling to see if you can buy a firearm. In a situation where they're looking into your background, they know you have a firearm, and they have to go through an extensive process to even find out what you have. Multiple warrants. You have to go through the ATF, the counties.
Yeah, and you have to go
But
to
somebody
the person
somewhere
where you purchased it and all
Yep.
that stuff, and he doesn't even have to give you it unless
Unless
he's
he's got a warrant, exactly.
But somebody somewhere knows that what I have.
No. Well, the people who you bought it from. So the
Okay.
government
Yeah.
knows you have it. They know how many you have. They don't know what you have.
Gotcha.
They have to go to the shops
That's
where
good
you
to know.
purchased it
Yep. That was there to protect.
with a warrant.
That was there to
That's-
protect. So, okay, if there is a assault weapons ban, say, hypothetically, that they can't come at your house, they can't come just on the grounds that they think you have an assault weapon, you registered it. So it's protecting us. So if there was anybody like a tyrannical government who happened to put your name down the list and say, okay, these are hunters, they have hunting rifles, handguns, pistols, we're going to put them on the list, and we're going to put you on a list that says you have an assault rifle, and then we're just going to go to everybody's house who's ever had an assault rifle and search it. That's there to protect us.
Okay.
And what is an assault rifle?
Assault rifle, it's a made-up term.
It is a made-up
It's an
term.
action. It's not an inanimate object. Although Webster Dictionary just came out with, was it 3 days ago? Did you hear about that?
No.
They created a new term for assault rifle. It says resemblance of a military rifle capable of semi-automatic fire.
Every rifle is capable of semi-automatic fire, unless it's a muzzle loader.
Or bolt action. An auto-loading rifle is the correct term for that. It's one trigger pull, one round. And I mean, if you look at the military term, what the United States government uses is a fully automatic rifle, handgun, or pistol. Oh, rifle and pistol are the same thing, but rifle, handgun, subgun. It's fully automatic. That's what an assault rifle is. And
So Webster should have contacted Kid Constitution here on the Young American podcast to get their definition correct.
or they
far
could
as
have
I'm
just gone to the
concerned.
government. The ATF does have it written down.
And I don't even see the point of them going after the AR. Like, what is the point that?
Just the AR.
And I believe the media is what's causing someone to grab the AR, because the media is making this AR out to be this dangerous weapon.
Well, it's also our own fault, because we're stupid enough to look at the media and listen to everything they say, and we get scared. I mean, it's illegal to yell fire in a movie theater unless there's an actual fire. Why is it illegal for them to start putting out false information? Well, I mean, it's their right, but at the same time, if that's illegal, I'm not saying that that's not what they should do. By all means, if you want to spew absolute bullcrap, go right ahead, do it. But don't do it in a way. I mean, no, never mind.
I don't even think I don't even.
Just do it.
Guns
But,
have never
like,
been a problem.
I think it's a problem that we have, that they're doing this. It's wrong, but hey, I'm a libertarian. Do what you want to do. If it's not directly hurting me, go right ahead. And sadly, I mean, it's starting to affect everybody in the country, the media, and it's creating a divide. But it's your freedom. I don't care.
And they believe if they take your gun away, it's going to solve things.
Yeah, look at London.
But just, it's not even that. It's just, I think it's the failure of the people in charge. Like the last shooter, reported over a dozen times or whatever it was. No one's doing their job.
No one's doing their job. I mean,
And then they blame the gun.
yeah.
So they should be blaming themselves for not doing their job.
The murder rate in London 2 days ago just surpassed New York City's, which is some of the highest in our country. And they don't even allowed to have handguns in London or rifles. Certain parts of England, you're allowed to have shotguns, you're allowed to have rimfire, semi-automatics, and hunting rifles, but you're not allowed to have what we can have. And in that area of London, okay, how do you surpass a murder rate and gun crimes in a city where it is illegal to have a handgun in the United States when you're not even allowed to have a firearm within the city limits of London?
When they banned all the firearms, I believe in England, knife deaths went up.
Yeah. And they didn't even ban all firearms in England. They banned most of them.
Right.
I mean, there's
Crime went up.
yeah, crime went up.
Same thing with Australia. Crime went up.
Well, when you have something that becomes illegal, crime rate's going to go up because you're creating a new law. And if people aren't going to follow it, obviously the crime rate's going to go up because they're getting
Well,
caught.
criminals aren't going to follow the law anyways.
Well, exactly. No, I mean that makes people criminals. So if you ban firearms carrying a firearm and people don't want to turn in their firearm, then they become a criminal and crime rate goes up. You see what I'm kind of saying here?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if once they make something illegal, obviously people are going to break it, so the crime rate's going to go up. Less laws equals lower crime rate, and that's just a fact. And that's might not be because it's a violent society, but it's just because there's more laws. Concealed carry. Move on to that. I know a lot of people in my family carry every day.
I believe you should be able to carry and protect yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe you should get training.
Yeah.
You should be well trained. You should know where you're shooting and how to handle your weapon. But concealed carrying should be the right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's. I mean, President Trump wanted, I believe, to sign an executive order that said he could carry in all 50 states, but he wanted to do it the right way instead of just doing it through an executive order. Put it through Congress, and then I believe a couple weeks ago he shot that down. He said he doesn't believe in that anymore. That because it would cause problems between the states' governments, because the right to reserve power is left to the state.
Right.
And our right to reserve powers, I believe, that isn't governed by the federal government, is left to the states.
Didn't he just do an executive order though on firearms and rifles and weapons? That we have the right to have something that can match the military.
Yeah, that's what he said. So now there's going to be,
because that's Second Amendment
exactly
is to protect us against tyranny government,
which would be awesome, because then we can go out and get suppressors without putting tax stamps, SBRs, fully audit. Hey, bazookas! What did I tell you?
There we go.
There we go, bazookas.
And that's because we about the suppressor one. I will never understand the ban on suppressant and getting a tax on them or even ban them.
Oh yeah.
It's not like it's Hollywood and you can't hear it.
No.
It just protects your hearing basically and quiets it down.
In my forensics class, my teacher was like, "Yeah, and the suppressors actually altered the ballistics of the bullet." I was like, "That's called a baffle strike." That's what when you get a baffle strike in your suppressor, you're eating that thing alive. That's no good. And he was like, "Oh no, that's why they banned him." I was like, "No, they didn't. They banned him. They banned a lot of things."
Hang on a second. You got a gun rookie over here. What is a baffle strike?
So a suppressor is a hollow tube with multiple sound baffling or dampeners inside. So it's kind of like cones, like traffic cones, put inside, and it catches the blast, right?
The blast coming through.
Blast.
All right. So it disperses it inside as the bullet's coming out.
Gotcha.
And and that's what a baffle is, like the cone. It looks like a cone. And when the bullet hits it, say if it's off trajectory or the twist doesn't match up with the baffles, then it will start eating those baffles alive and damaging them.
All right.
And that's a baffle strike.
So the bullet coming out of that rifle hits itself. It hits the
hits
rifle
the
itself because that baffle's on the end.
Yeah, hits the internals of the suppressor or silencer, depending on who makes it. That's another argument. Suppressors or silencers?
Suppressors.
Well, you have silencer core,
Yeah.
core corporation. Wow, dyslexic.
It's all right. We'll let you live on that one.
Suppress the sound.
Yeah, suppressor or silencer. It all depends who designs it, who manufactures it.
I mean, my hearing's off a little bit from the military because we used to have to stick cigarette butts in our ear and around the field just to try to cut down on the noise.
Oh, so you are in the military?
Yeah.
What branch?
Army.
All right.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
You are?
No, I did not know that.
Oh, I thought you did.
I did not. My dad never told me that. I mean, I've only seen you a couple times in passing at the store and on Facebook.
Right out of high school.
Right out of high school. Yeah, I was going to go to the Coast Guard, debating if I should go.
Now he wants to be a podcast superstar because he got the numbers in for his podcast, which have been huge.
He wants to be a Hollywood star. He wants to take over Tucker Carlson's job.
I would love to do that. Work with Tommy Lauren and the Fox News. That'd be fun.
Screw that. We have our own network here.
We have our own network.
Kid Constitution, taking it to the next level.
New Hampshire born and raised.
So our opinion on the Second Amendment, it should be read just as it's stated.
It's the executive order.
And not twisted around. It's just.
It was signed to say we should match what the military has, which honestly would be
and to
the
protect
best.
ourselves.
Protect ourselves from the military, because if they have fully automatic rifle like saws, what does that stand for again?
What, saws?
Small, saw. It's like small infantry weapon or small something weapon. Saw, like the 5.56 automatic machine gun, huge one. Stands for it's an analogy or something. I should pull that up. They got one of those and they're lighting up a bunch of people, gun owners, if they get into like a battle. We got semi-automatic ARs, or you get the Fostech Echo, Franklin Armory binary trigger. You even get a bump stock, which are basically just plastic. You can make it out of 2x4 and 2 screws.
Most military personnel don't even like to use their weapons on full auto.
No, it's not as accurate.
It doesn't do. It's just waste your ammo.
No, not unless you're laying down suppressing
fire.
That's exactly what.
That's what it's meant for.
That is like suppressing fire. All it is to make the enemy cover while you run away.
Yep.
And I mean, sure, in a mounted machine gun, it's going to be accurate, but that's the only situation. Unless you get like a P90 or a MP7, you get something like really small caliber that has like the recoil of a 22. You're not going to get accuracy out of a fully automatic.
No, it's just meant to do damage.
Yeah.
I love how your brain works because you lay down some of the most definitive statements. This is absolutely not going to happen. And then your brain clicks to every exception, and then you list all the exceptions. I dig that about you, Joe.
Well, hey, I got to let the people know that there are exceptions out there to these things. And
I
these
can't
are
believe
the
you know
exceptions.
as many as you know.
Dude, I could name even more.
Oh, he does his research.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff, for sure.
Does well for his age, that's for sure.
I sit in my room at night alone, and I like look at gun terms. And when YouTube announced they're going to be banning firearms, I almost cried because that's where like I watch most of the videos about firearms and, you know, like Iraq Veteran 8888, Hitchcock 45, the Military Arms Channel. I watch all of them, and now they had to move to full30.com because YouTube decided to ban all content that has firearms in it. Even
Well,
like
the
movies.
That's
good news
unbelievable.
is- The good news is you have a place to go.
Yeah, this is awesome. You know, you get the full 30 and everything like that. Concealed carrying.
And the people without the knowledge of firearms, it's ignorant sometimes.
Yeah, it's
They just follow the news, and then they start screaming it out.
complete stupidity. Concealed carry on a daily basis. I know when I turn 18 and get my permit, even though in New Hampshire I don't need to, it's just going to be easier if I do get into a situation where the police ask me, hey, you have your concealed license identification card now, I believe it's called, because we are a constitutional carry state, which is awesome.
I carry.
Yeah,
I keep it on my wife that don't go anywhere in the mall with my kids without carrying a weapon with you.
A crowded area.
And it just so happened, it was like 2 months ago. My daughter was in the mall, you know, like when you're going through near the food court. It was busy.
Yep.
Two kids pulled out knives and started having a knife fight. My daughter had to push through and run to get away from it.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
The world is a scary place.
It is.
Hey, it's not all. It's not what everybody says it is. It's
And
not
if
the
for
best
no
place
other
in there.
reason, I carry myself as a security blanket because there are situations that I get into where I would be nervous otherwise. So I just like to know I have it as a security blanket. I've never even had to show anybody it.
Yeah.
I have it, and that's all that matters.
I mean, working at a place with retail too, you never know.
It's a
Someone could
scary
come in and
thing.
try to rob you or
Exactly.
not, and even so, if they come in on the intentions of killing somebody because they know people are going to be here, you also have that. And what you said, there's situations where you're not nervous. I mean, you're probably still nervous, but you have that blanket.
Well, you go to make a deposit, just as an example, and whether it's personal deposit or a deposit for a retail operation,
Yep.
you go to make a deposit, and you see somebody sketchy or whatever, you certainly drive away and you steer clear.
Yep.
But just knowing that if a situation where I didn't see them, if any of that comes up, I feel more secure that I have it. The other thing that it's worked wonders on is my road rage. And here's what I'll say. Because I carry, I cannot afford for a situation to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've said the same thing.
I cannot afford for it to happen. So
I ignore
now
everything now.
Ignore everything.
Yep.
I walk away from it all, and it has made me a more sane individual because of the level of responsibility.
Yes.
Is that how that works?
I'm not willing
Wow.
to take someone's life over them cutting me off on Route 495. It's not going to
And
happen.
that old saying, too, is better to have one and not need it than need it and not have it.
Exactly.
And that old saying, one is none, two is one.
I have
You
no idea
know,
what that means.
Like a backup.
Oh, okay.
You're going to start carrying a backup now?
The extra magazine doesn't count?
No, an extra gun, man. What happens to that
Oh,
one
my
malfunctions?
God,
Firing
Joseph.
pin
You're
break,
costing me a fortune.
Firing pin breaks, trigger spring breaks, You get all your bullets for some reason, they got bad primer strikes. You never know.
Oh, buy quality, learn to shoot straight.
Exactly. He's got a SIG. He'll be fine. But, when I'm 18 years old, I'm going to carry every day. My father owns a retail location in Salem, New Hampshire, and Hampstead. And we have sometimes where there's situations where pretty sketchy people come in. And it's not just, they could be on drugs. They could be on anything. We've had people in drugs in our store before. I mean,
Sure.
Have you ever been there when something sketchy happens, walking through? A couple times.
I almost got there once when something sketchy was happening.
Yeah, I think he came one day, and my dad and I were like, you just...
But like my mother-in-law is a severe liberal, and she's like, "Would you really actually shoot someone over something?" I'm
yeah.
I go, "What? Do you think I'm going to let my wife get robbed or dragged away or whatever the case would be with someone else?" I go, "My life's worth more than theirs if they're the ones doing the criminal act."
It's my life, not yours. I'm not going to sacrifice
Mine.
my
Hey.
life for your dumb ass. Like, I'm sorry. That and my brother was sitting at one of the locations up on the coast,
Yeah.
and some guy walked in and said, "Hey, are you alone?" He was like, yeah, why? And the guy goes, well, what happens if, I'm here and I'm distracting you and someone takes your nice Harley outside? My brother goes, well, in that case, if I knew what it was, I'd take my gun out and I'd shoot him as they drive away. And the guy freaked out on him and was like, oh, this is why America's bad. And my brother goes, no,
Really?
America's bad because you're trying to steal my bike.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. I have my gun, so if you try to steal my bike, I shoot you.
The thief isn't the bad guy. The
No,
one
the
that's
thief.
stopping the thief is the bad guy.
The, the thief's not the bad guy because you never know why he's stealing the bike. I don't care why you're stealing my bike.
I have
That's
one of
my
those
bike.
little
It's my
square
bike.
things that I can track it on my phone, so I don't have to shoot the guy. He can take it, and I can just bring the police there.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm just saying.
if someone,
I don't know.
statistically,
I might pull it out if someone's trying to steal my
Yeah.
bike and say, get off my bike right now. Is your life worth it?
statistically, criminals are prone to commit less crimes after they've been shot.
That is a
is true.
statistical
Yeah.
anomaly that
Okay.
I've had trouble
If you're breaking,
understanding.
even if you survive or don't survive, well, if you don't survive, you're not breaking any laws. But if you do survive from that, I don't think you're going to be breaking into anybody's house ever again if you walk in the door and you get shot. Like that's the problem. It's people like that who keep committing crimes and there's no punishment. I mean, there is a punishment, but it's very light. You hear in Chicago, people are breaking and entering, they're getting slaps on the wrist, like 6 months in prison.
Oh, God, yeah. You can break into a house 100 times and still not do jail time, but you can get 1 or 2 fights
Yeah.
and end up being in jail for 6 months.
Assault and
Yeah.
battery, and if it's aggravated assault and battery.
Can you imagine
depending-
someone breaking?
In Massachusetts, there was a story. A man had steel-toe work boots on, kicked the guy that was actually trying to carjack him, and he got aggravated assault with a weapon because he had steel-toe boots on. That's stupid. That would never happen in New Hampshire, and that's why I'm glad we're north. We're not behind enemy lines, as we would
just
say.
think about the gun. Just think about a gun ban. Say they
Yeah.
did implement the gun ban. You can't have guns like they do in other countries.
And back to the kind of
Why don't you think about the feeling of you being in the house with your children, and someone actually breaks in?
Exactly. Now we're going to move on to home defense. We'll go back, but you have a responsibility when you carry a firearm. If something severely bad is happening, or like Mr. Johnson said, the responsibility of not getting angry at somebody.
Right.
There's a responsibility of carrying a firearm, and when you carry a firearm, depending why you carry a firearm. If you're carrying a firearm just because you want to, go right ahead. Just carry the firearm in the one magazine. But if you're like, okay, I'm carrying it because I'm afraid someone's going to get into a gunfight with me because I live in a bad area of town, someone's going to try to stab me, rob me. Not only should you carry a firearm, you should carry a way to stop your injuries, whether it be a tourniquet, like I've said before, an Israeli bandage, which is like what is it? You know what Israeli bandage is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've used them before in training, probably.
35 years ago.
Yeah. They haven't changed, I can tell you that.
There's some nice stuff on the market now, though.
Oh, yeah. North American Rescue. You can even go to Amazon and get some of these like cheap Chinese ones. Even though they're not going to work as well, they're still pretty cool to use. It's training, or if you get like a mock boo-boo and you want to train with it, go right ahead. But there's a responsibility carrying that firearm. Know what the condition of your firearm is at all times. Know what's behind the target or behind the threat. Keeping it concealed and not flashing it around. And also, knowing what your firearm's capable of and knowing the consequences and when you should and shouldn't use your firearm, because
Absolutely.
it could cost you jail time.
That's training.
Just even pulling it out in the wrong scenario.
Training. You should go through training for
Exactly. And I mean, it's your right to not go through training if you want to or not, but you should. You absolutely should.
should.
You shouldn't do it without it. I'm not saying you can't, but you should. Now we're going to get a home defense. I don't have a cop sleeping on my couch every night. I don't know about you. You might be a cop, but, unless you got your gun, you're not stopping anybody. New Hampshire, 13 minutes to get a police officer at a home, a break and entering call, someone's at home at night. And they're going to come and they're going to do exactly what you would do. They're going to take their rifles, shotguns, or handguns.
That's if you get to call the police in the first place.
Okay.
Then if you have an alarm, it's taking up to 30 minutes sometimes for them to get to the
Yeah,
house.
because then it has to go to the alarm company. Someone's
They got
gonna
a call,
They
the
got a
whole
call.
bit.
Yep.
And
even
30
so,
minutes is a long time.
that
Even 15 minutes is a long time.
even 1 minute is a long time. I
Yeah.
swear to God, there's so many things that can happen in a matter of seconds. I mean, you can get stabbed, shot, you get strangled, and fight.
I mean, I take care of all the precautions first. My house
Yeah.
is alarmed. Every door is alarmed. I have
yeah.
dogs to protect the house and let me know if someone's coming in. But the last step, the last
I
step
mean, we
of
got the
defense
bulldogs.
is the weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
If a guy comes through, he comes through a knife. What do you do then?
As,
if you don't have a weapon.
Clint Smith, he owns Thunder Ranch. He's like a world-renowned firearms instructor from the 80s.
Right.
It's your first and last line of defense.
Yep.
Because it's the first thing you're going to grab and the last thing you're going to have in your hands when you die. That's if you need your firearm, which Like, if you get into a firefight, you need to – that is your first and last line of defense. Okay, it's life or death. If you use it the right way or not, or if the guy behind the other firearm or knife is better than you, you're going to die. And, you know, I'd rather die on my feet than die on my knees.
Yeah, and there's only one purpose: someone's coming in through your house at night or a home invasion.
Yeah, I mean, either they think you're not home,
It's not
or
because
they
they're
want to
hungry. They
kill
want to
you.
go through your refrigerator.
What do you think? What do you think you should have at home? Should you have a handgun? Should you have a shotgun? What is the
Whatever you're more comfortable with. If
What
you're
you're
better,
comfortable- I believe, yeah.
If
What
you're
you're more
better with
comfortable with.
shooting the handgun, if you're more accurate with the handgun, or you feel comfortable with the handgun, get a handgun, put a light on it. Because, you know, I wouldn't be going around turning on the lights in your room and seeing if everybody's there, because they're going to be in the next room over, see you're in that room, and they're going to buck it out.
We should choose a smart weapon too, because in fact the bullet can go through walls,
Yeah.
go through plaster.
Defense loads, you know, they have aluminum case load, which is it's a lead backing. Like, it looks like a Smartie piece of candy. It's a piece of lead behind a hollow point aluminum ammunition. It's designed to, you know, once it hits drywall, just that back piece goes through and it will tumble and fall, which is good and all. But, you know, if someone like wearing a vest or wearing, you know, the Carhartt, you saw that a couple years ago, the NYPD shot at a guy.
Right.
He had his phone in his pocket and the Carhartt jacket, and the phone stopped the
Stopped the
9mm. Which, hey, it's a 9mm. They're pretty high in velocity right now. FBI just switched from 40 to 9, again, because of the new velocity loads. And
I believe you should just choose what's comfortable and what you're trained in.
Yeah, and
like
AR
I
pistol.
can try, if I want to use AR, I know I'm going to nail with the AR. It doesn't matter what I use.
Sure.
I use the shotgun. I use the AR.
Well, my
I use the
concern
pistol.
would be, you know, I live in a townhouse, just as an example, and if I were shooting from side to side, I wouldn't want the risk of the round going through a couple
walls.
layers of sheetrock
Right.
and ending up in the wrong person. Whereas a shotgun, I get a better shot of, pun intended, by the way, a better shot of the round stopping in the walls.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, maybe not killing
then
the person that's
yes
coming
and
in.
no. It all depends on the load again.
And plus,
No matter
your
what firearm.
adrenaline's going. It's under a combat situation when something like that happens. You're not calm like you're at a shooting range shooting.
Right.
You're nervous. You're shaking. Your heart rate's going. Your adrenaline's running. Shotgun it is a good home defense weapon because of the fact that you just aim in one direction, and most likely you're going to hit something with them and hit them.
Even so, like when I'm at an indoor shooting range and I'm standing next to somebody, like I don't know what they're there for, what they're gonna do. You ever go to an indoor range and you get some dumbass next to you who doesn't know how to use a gun? Do you not get nervous?
Yeah.
I just like almost shit my pants. Like I swear, I've been at Manchester and we have people from other countries that don't know how to use a firearm. Wherever they're from, maybe different states, and they're using fully automatic rifles they rented because they think they're cool and easy to control. Like the media puts them out. Oh, they're
Right.
so easy to control. Look how deadly they are. And then they find out the hard way that, hey, you just, 30 of those,
ceiling.
you just shot like 20 out of those 30 rounds in the magazine are in the ceiling. And you just caused, the whole range now be shut down, and they're pulling you off, and they're saying you are a dumbass for saying, they said it was easy on the media, and I got, an automatic gun. No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
My wife once asked me why to go to the range. She goes, "Why don't we practice the one you're carrying?" Because that's in case someone in here is out of their mind.
Right.
Yeah. Why don't we practice?
And the other one's on the table in safe mode.
Yeah. When I'm loading a magazine, I got 4 rounds in. This guy next to me starts shooting. I have 4 rounds now to shoot you, or I'm unloaded. I mean, you should carry the extra one.
Like the type of guy that shoots a full automatic, a full semi-automatic.
Full semi-automatic. Yeah, it's full semi like that. Well, I mean, hey, you could say full semi with like the Fostech at the Echo.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say full semi, but that's made-up term. I think that interview was hilarious.
It's a made-up term.
Yeah, it is a made-up term. No. I know that. I'm just saying that.
I mean, any good pro can shoot just as fast with any gun.
Jerry Mitchell.
Yeah.
Max Michel.
There's guys that are just unbelievable. Didn't I just post a video of a 10-year-old girl?
Yeah.
See how fast she can load and shoot?
Yeah.
It's just doesn't matter the weapon. It's training.
And I think why police officers also want, it's 87% of police chiefs in the United States want people to carry a firearm and advocate for them owning one.
Because they know they can't get there in time.
Exactly. That.
They
and
know
they
that.
know, okay, if there's somebody in a cafe starting to shoot up somebody, whether it be a, mall calf, whether it be anywhere, they're going to stop the shooting. Somebody in there is going to shoot back.
I would absolutely back up a police officer like that guy did. What was it, in California?
In Florida.
Absolutely. Yeah, Florida.
Yeah, he was on the
absolutely.
ground.
Got out. And
the kid had the cop's gun, and they were fighting for it. And that cop didn't have a knife or anything that cut him off his gun, and he had his other hand, so it was just 2 people fighting for his gun. And that guy came out of nowhere and shot the kid 3 or 4 times. And then they tried to charge him with murder, but the cop testified, the police chief testified.
he saved the cop's life.
He saved the cop's life.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing too. Police officers, when you get in a situation, and it's very, very scared because okay, the guy next to him coming up with a gun, you never know what the guy's intention is too,
Right.
whether it be to save you or not. And I think that it's a good thing for people to carry firearms. I do think that's why police chiefs advocate for it. But at the same time, a lot of police officers, I mean, the other percent, they don't want you. The other 13%, they don't want you having firearms for some reason. And I think they're probably from like
Firearms-
Chicago. They're from the big cities where any firearm, and they haven't been in the countryside or the rural areas like New Hampshire, where everybody has a gun.
Everybody does.
No matter where you go.
And there's no problems. Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont.
We were rated one of the safest
Absolutely.
cities. We have
And-
constitutional carry. We have some of the highest gun ownership in America right now, and we're one of the less violent. We are, I think, the third or fourth less violent, least violent state.
Guns have been around forever. People took them to kids used to have them in the back of their pickup trucks, hanging on the window.
Me and my dad.
What's changed?
Nothing. It's culture.
It's the
Culture's
culture
changed.
changed. The parents changed.
The
The way they
parents.
treat the kids. The way they put them on meds without any little problem.
It's because they've taken the firearms out of society as much as they have. They're still there. They're in the shadows now. Firearms they were not as accepted as they were. You can't buy them out of gun magazines anymore. You used to be able to order them out of a magazine right to your house. I mean, in the early 2000s, I think it was, you could just go to a gun store and you could be in and out with a minimal background check until they started upgrading it, which is a good thing. But now you're sitting there for what, 2-3 hours, sometimes even more than a day.
Even more than a day. I've had a couple of times. It's more than a day sometimes,
And
just
even
because they're
like-
busy.
Just so busy with people buying guns. In the Obama administration, he did the opposite of what he wanted to do.
Yeah, he did. Gun sales shut the roof.
Yeah, when you say I'm going to take something away, people it's that push and pull effect. If you're
Now
pulling, they're going to.
Now you know what stock to buy if someone like Hillary gets in.
Yeah. Oh my God. In with Trump looked
Smith
like
and
he was.
Wesson,
Oh yeah.
Ruger. No.
Except Remington just went bankrupt.
Yeah, Remington's going bankrupt. Sad.
They made that shitty, stupid handgun they should have never ever made. They should have stuck to their bolt-action rifles, the Remington 700.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice rifle.
Those are really nice rifles.
Absolutely.
Depending on what model you get, And there was a special like precision, Ruger Precision made one, Savage made a precision rifle, and that was modeled. They did it because Remington made a precision rifle. They didn't even release it on the civilian market. They released it like a select few. If you really wanted to, do a good job, you should have just released everything to them. And I don't know why they did that. They have the ACR. I mean, they have so many firearms that aren't even released to the public in large numbers, and people are so mad at. And then they released that stupid handgun to try to, save themselves, and you really just wasted so much money on this handgun, which, hey, there's already Glock, you already have SIG, there's no market for that.
And back on the home defense, think about us when we were kids. Like, you were trained, if your house caught on fire, you go to the floor.
Yep.
You crawl out the window, you get your rope, ladder, you come down. Every kid was taught that when we were younger. And now, the way times are now, you should be teaching your family what happens if there's a home invasion at night.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And where to go, and what to do, and where to hide, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. I think that's time, Scott. Thanks for having you on. Hopefully we'll see you again.
What are we talking about next week, Joseph?
Next week we're going to be talking about Trump's wall and how he decided to secure it within that time before he builds it. We're going to be talking about what was it? I saw it today on Facebook. I decided to write it down, but I didn't bring my notebook. And we're going to be talking about legalizing marijuana and what the good and bad things be about it. Trying to have a guest on there that would want to talk about that, but a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
That's a scary topic.
It is a scary topic.
I'll be here for you, buddy.
All right, I got you. It came to me. The next one, the ecosystem on the border wall, how it could be affected, and for the good and bad again. Although it's not very political, it still has something to do with politics. As always, thank you. Please like and subscribe this. Share as much as possible. I'm your host, Joseph Bemister. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.